Hi, my name is Rick Dupree, and today I'll be talking about the current and future state of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. As always, these are my opinions and not those of my employer, Bank of the West, or its parent company, BNP Paribas. With respect to current state, the CFPB was intended to be a watchdog group for American consumers, much like what's already in place with U.S. Product Safety Commissions, OSHA, the Food and Drug Administration, etc. As most people know, recently the Bureau had a change in directors. Richard Cordray, who was the CFPB's initial director, announced his retirement as of November 2017. Upon that announcement, he elevated the current deputy director, Leandra English, to acting director status. 2 days later, President Trump appointed Mick Mulvaney, the current federal budget director, as acting director of the CFPB. After a brief court challenge, it was ruled in federal court that Trump's appointment would stand. This could be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, but for now, Mulvaney is the acting director. Again, this is an interim appointment. The appointment can last no longer than 210 days until the president nominates a permanent director. As part of the confirmation process, the president's nominee will need to receive U.S. Senate confirmation. And as part of that confirmation, one of the senators, Elizabeth Warren, will have to or need to weigh in on that confirmation. And as we all know, the CFPB was her brainchild when she was still a law professor at Harvard. The concern with Mulvaney's appointment is that he's been a harsh critic of the CFPB to date, going so far as to call it a joke in a sick, sad way. Also, he is a White House staffer, and his appointment places a White House political staffer into the Federal Reserve System, which is where the CFPB falls under. And this is viewed by many as counter to the intent of the CFPB being independent from political influence. Given the uncertainties of his appointment and the potential additional legal challenges, not to mention the short-term nature of his tenure, Mulvaney has changed course slightly in some of his original proposals and decisions. That being said, critics still argue that Mulvaney is trying to dismantle the CFPB from the inside through administrative means by appointments of political staffers and some of the decisions he's made to date. Before we can discuss what this potentially means to the future of the CFPB, we should probably take a step back and look at why the CFPB was created and its original mission. So the CFPB was created coming out of the financial crisis of 2007. The CFPB acts like a clearinghouse for federal consumer financial protection laws, as well as prevention of unfair, deceptive, and abusive practices. Before the CFPB was in place, seven different federal agencies were responsible for various aspects of consumer financial protection. No one single agency had the effective tools to either set rules or to oversee the entire market. And this is some argue this is in part what led to the economic crash, a lack of that kind of holistic view of offenses with respect to consumer protection laws. The intent was to create a single consumer-focused regulating authority, consolidating, again, the existing authorities throughout the federal government under one roof. The Bureau's oversight includes large banks and credit unions that have historically been regulated by the various existing federal agencies, but in addition to that, CFPB's purview also includes what are called non-bank financial institutions, such as mortgage lenders, student loan lenders, mortgage servicing firms, and more recently, fintechs. One of the benefits of having this all under one roof is it allows the Bureau to obtain and analyze data with respect to consumer financial protection laws. And then utilize that data to inform the public, inform the other agencies, the regulators, and the government with respect to the current environment. And prior to creation of CFPB, that was very difficult to do and wasn't being done. In addition to that, responsibility was spread over these 7 agencies with respect to enforcement. And so at times you would have a duplication in effort of enforcement, or you could have something falling through the cracks and not being looked at. But the primary concern by the lawmakers who voted CFPB into existence was that there was not one single agency accountable for oversight and enforcement of consumer financial protection laws.